Hello, and welcome to the latest installment of Critics and Cars Getting Home.
And tonight, we've just come out of the media screening of Kenneth Branagh's written and directed, at least semi-autobiographical film, Belfast.
It's one of the major contenders for the Oscars this year, and all sorts of end-of-year praise, starring Jamie Dornan, Catriona Boyth. I am not on the team of giving good last name pronunciations today, team. Fair warning.
To be fair to you, American Doug Dillerman, there are a lot of quite Irish names in it, including...
Like Judi Dench?
Judi Dench. It's not the most Irish of names in it. She plays the grandma. Look, just to give you a bit of background, Belfast is set in Northern Ireland, starts in August of 1969, and it is clearly the very quick lead-in to the Troubles.
As told from the perspective of a young boy whose parents are wrapped up in the dramas unfolding on their street, where rioting is happening, sectarian violence is breaking out.
Between Catholics and Protestants, they're a little Protestant family who have hitherto been living happily with Northern Irish Catholic neighbours, and all of a sudden division is being wrought between those communities. And as I say, written and directed by Kenneth Branagh, and I really do need to read up on it, which I'm going home to do. I think we are to take it that little Buddy is his. That's Kenneth, baby Kenneth, isn't it? So what would he be? About maybe 9 or something like that, 8 or 9 maybe. Gorgeous little kid. Got to be a breakout role from this cute little freckled blonde-haired child playing Kenneth Branagh.
He got an introducing credit. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes, of course, Jude someone or other. Jude Hill, cute, wonderful. Anyway, the film's in black and white. The whole thing
mostly
looks absolutely beautiful. Crisp black and white. But I don't know what you thought of it, because we haven't discussed this.
No, well, I'm actually quite nervous about this, because you mentioned you might get emotional. And I really did not like it at all.
Really?
No. Look, maybe you should talk about what you liked about it and how you react to it before I pee on your parade.
Yeah, thank you. Fair enough. Look, sometimes a film's going to hit you in funny ways, right? And I've got to be honest, viewers, watchers, readers, listeners, and Doug, I found the scenes of sectarian violence in the streets incredibly distressing. And I actually got quite tearful during those moments. It's also inevitably a family drama. The child's dad is away for work in England most of the time, and then comes back sort of periodically, every couple of weeks, every couple of months sort of thing. Those weren't the bits that upset me the most, actually. It was the notion of the community and what the community was going through.
That more so than the grandfather?
And there's a very, very sweet relationship between Karen Hines' papa and Judi Dench's grandmother. And that's very, that's very touching as well. I just found bits of it very, very moving, as well as parts of it terribly funny. It threw in the sort of jokes that my mum and my nana raised us on. So, I'd heard a lot of those lines before. And they never get old, So there was a real... My family is not from Northern Ireland, I should say, but, they're from Britain. And there was a lot that was so sort of broadly British about the thing that I really loved it. And I did love the way it was shot, and I didn't mind the change in tone between having a bit of a laugh and then something that was either violent and horrible or sad. And I know that someone's listening and they're going to go, that's not a Northern Irish accent, Sarah. Give up your day job.
It's better than mine.
It's most of my accents are better than yours, my darling.
You should try your American accent, though. Can't live up to
That's
mine.
true. So what did you not like about it?
Okay, so I will admit to being completely cynical going in. Branagh is not somebody who has a unblemished directorial career, or even has... For the number of films he's directed, I think he has very few that people even remember relative to his output.
Let's give out a few.
Sleuth. There's 6 Shakespeares that he's done.
Didn't he do a Dracula-y type one?
Yeah.
Or was it Mary Shelley's Frankenstein?
I think he did Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. He did Dead Again. I haven't really kept up with him, and no one's really convinced me he's needed to. And he's he's mostly made, kept in the public eye by being Murder on the Orient Express and
Sure.
other, kind of...
and did he...
and killing somebody in Tenet with a gold bar to their throat and then checking his Fitbit.
But didn't he direct Murder on the Orient Express and the forthcoming Death
Did
on
he?
the Nile?
Okay.
I have a feeling they might be Kenneth Branagh films as
Wow.
well.
If so, that's crazy that he's got 2 films in it.
Oh, in quick succession.
Yeah, because that, COVID, of course. But, look, I felt a bit like, obviously Alfonso Cuarón got great fame and great awards by going back to his childhood to riot-torn Mexico and making a story about his upbringing in black and white.
Namely the film Roma.
Correct. And I felt like, maybe he thought that there would be a similar path to some kind of acclaim for him. And from the beginning, the first... once you get past this initial color sort of...
well, it's the contemporary Belfast in colour, right? And
yes,
then he takes us over a garden wall into black and white 1969 Belfast.
Using the first of many songs by COVID denier Van Morrison.
Is that another thing that got your goat, is that Van Morrison is a COVID denier?
Only near the end, but the fact that I didn't know it was going to be wall-to-wall
Yeah, there was a lot of Van Morrison
and
in the soundtrack.
Yeah, it reminded me of when a friend played me a horror movie, and just as it started, he said, "Oh, by the way, I hope you like John Philip Sousa," because it was wall-to-wall John Philip Sousa songs.
Right.
And it was a similar thing. It's like, so the Van Morrison thing aside, there's just this kind of tracking shot that starts it, but it's a little wanky and it doesn't really work, and the blocking's not right, and the sound is also like there's people halfway down the street that sound like they're talking here. So it just felt, so the technicals of it put me off from the beginning, and then it's kind of this...
It's artistic. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it did occur to me that maybe some of that sounded almost like voiceover, but
well, it
wasn't.
sounded like they were going for a mono mix at points, and then every once in a while there'd be like a helicopter thing in your back right ear, and there may, he may have had some ideas, but they certainly weren't as effective in creating anything.
Sure.
And then when it goes from this kind of affected innocence and thing, and you compare something like a Terrence Davies movie like The Long Day Closes, and the real sense of lived in community during hard times that you get in that, and then this just felt a bit cartoonish by comparison.
Yes.
And then when the violence breaks out, and it just felt like one of those, everyone who was working on, they're throwing a different idea. What if we suddenly speed ramp it? What if we suddenly have really choppy
So it was the
Saving
technical
Private
side
Ryan?
of things that annoyed you?
Initially,
Did it feel a bit on the nose?
It just felt like a bit of a mess and lacking in perspective. And I think that's the thing, is I don't feel like I really, at any level, understand anything about the Troubles more than when I came into this film.
Well, maybe you knew a whole bunch before going in as well.
I still don't know a lot.
Look, I think that, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not arguing with you in terms of the technical side of things, and indeed there possibly being a bit of a mismatch or a hodgepodge of styles and whatnot. One thing that I was quite struck by is it's very, very much from the point of view of this young child, and therefore to me the fact that some of the audio is louder and he's seeing things in a certain way and he's hearing things in a hyperbolic way, to me is consistent with the notion that when you are an 8 or 9-year-old child going through some traumatic experiences in your street, that's not unreasonable, that those would feel heightened and what they would go down in memory.
I don't disagree, I just don't think it really successfully played the notion of him as traumatized.
Right.
And that's the thing, is that it, when it's not going on, it's kind of like, oh, we had a cheerful, easy life, and then every once in a while this happened, rather than somebody who's perpetually on the edge.
Well, I don't know that all trauma necessarily means that you are perpetually on the edge. And you think about people who have grown through the breakdown of former Yugoslavia, for example, and there are traumatic experiences, and then there's a sense of, and you keep going, and the new normal and all that sort of thing, maybe.
Sure, I guess you were just saying that you were defending the aesthetic decisions on the basis of the idea that it's seeing through the lens of trauma. And
through the child is what I mean. But
and that I think
I
I've been able
we can
to
see that we're not agreeing on this one.
And we're basically home, but I would say if you key into the characters a bit more than I did, because I found the form of it an obstacle to keying in to the characters, then maybe, I mean, I just didn't really have any emotional response ultimately.
Right.
At any point in the film.
And I had quite a few emotional responses.
So,
And, I mean, it wasn't perfect. By which I simply mean, what is? But, yeah, there were things that I'm like, I'm not sure that I kind of think that was the best choice or whatever. But for the most part, I thought it was quite wonderful. So there you go.
Good.
That's interesting. Hey.
You get some disagreement. Look at that. And we get a neighbor pulling in coming home.
Well, he's going to have to sign a non-disclosure agreement.
And
a release
probably
form.
also, we need to stay a meter away and put our masks on. So, till next time.